Your supplier just quoted you $3.20 per unit. You do the conversion, that is about £2.55 in GBP. You check your margins and you think this works. But here is what nobody told you. That $2.55 is just the tip of the iceberg. The real cost of getting a product from a factory in China to a warehouse in the UK is hiding underneath. And by the end of this video, you're going to see exactly how deep it goes. We're going to take one real product, follow every single pound from factory floor to warehouse shelf, and show you the true cost, layer by layer. No skipping, no rounding, and at the end, you will have the exact formula to calculate this yourself for anything you import from any country. We're going to start at the factory and work our way all the way to the warehouse. Let us get into it. Here is our product, a 500 milliliter stainless steel water bottle. Simple. Nothing fancy. We're ordering 2,000 units from a supplier in Yiwu, China. The factory quoted us $3.20 per unit, FOB Ningbo. That is about £2.55 at today's rate. Now, FOB means free on board. It is an Incoterm and it means the supplier gets the product onto the ship. After that, every cost is on you. We did a full video breaking down Incoterms if you want the deep dive, link up here. The price is in US dollars, which is standard. Most Chinese suppliers quote in USD, but we're a UK business. Our money is in pounds. That matters, and we will come back to why that costs you more than you think. So our starting number is £2.55 per unit. Total product cost about £5,100. That is what we are sending to our supplier. Now let us see what this product actually costs to get to our warehouse. Starting with the very first layer under the water, getting it from the factory to the port. Even though our deal is FOB, there are still costs on the China side that catch people off guard. Under FOB, the supplier handles getting the goods to the port and loading them. But depending on your arrangement, there may be export documentation fees, loading charges, or fumigation certificates if wood packaging is involved. For our water bottles, the supplier is charging about 15 pence per unit for inland logistics and export handling. Some suppliers include this in the unit price, some charge it separately. Always ask, so there are no surprises on the invoice. Our running total moves from $2.55 to $2.70 per unit. Not a huge jump, but we are just getting started. Because now our product is sitting at Ningbo port and it needs to cross an ocean. We have 2,000 water bottles. That is roughly 2 cubic meters of cargo. Not enough for a full container, so we are shipping LCL, less than container load. That means our goods share a container with other shipments. LCL rates are charged per cubic meter. Ningbo to Felixstowe, which is the main container port for the UK, currently runs about £45 to £60 per cubic meter for LCL, call it 50. So our freight is about £100 total or 5 pence per unit. Quick note, if you were shipping 10,000 units or more, you would probably hit the break point where booking a full 20-foot container becomes a cheaper per unit option than LCL. That is the FCL versus LCL decision, and it is worth running the maths on both every time you order. On top of freight, we need cargo insurance. Standard marine insurance runs about 0.5% to 1.5% of the shipment value. On our £5,000 shipment, call it about £40, 2 pence per unit. Ocean freight plus insurance brings us to £2.77 per unit. So far manageable. But the ship has docked at Felixstowe, and this is where the fees start stacking up in ways you did not expect. Your container has arrived, but you cannot just drive up and collect your goods. There is a whole set of fees between your shipment arriving and you actually getting your hands on it. Terminal handling charges at the port. Deconsolidation fees because we shipped LCL, someone needs to separate our cargo from everyone else's in that shared container. Port storage if there is any delay. For an LCL shipment like ours, these portside handling costs run roughly £150 to £250. Call it 180. That is a 9 pence per unit. And there is another thing to mention here. HMRC can pull your shipment for a physical inspection at random. If it happens, you're looking at several £100s in exam fees plus delays. You cannot predict it or prevent it. Most shipments clear without one, but smart importers know it can happen and they build it into their contingency buffer, which we will get to at the end. After port fees, our running total is $286 per unit. Now comes the layer that makes every first-time importer's eyes go wide: customs and taxes. This is the big one. The layer most first-time importers get completely wrong, and in the UK it has two parts: customs duty and VAT. First, before any of this happens, you need an EORI number. That stands for Economic Operator Registration and Identification. It is free, you register with HMRC, and you cannot import anything into the UK without one. If you have not done this yet, pause and sort it out before you place your first order. Now, customs duty. You look up the duty rate using a 10-digit commodity code, the UK equivalent of the international HS code. You can find yours on the UK Trade Tariff tool on the government website. Here is where our water bottle gets interesting. Stainless steel vacuum flasks fall under commodity code 9617, and the UK duty rate on that code is 0%. Zero. Our specific product comes in duty-free. Now, do not assume that is the case for your product. Textiles and clothing can attract 8 to 12% duty. Footwear can go up to 17%. Ceramics, furniture, certain electronics, they all carry different rates. You must look up your commodity code before you order. The duty rate is the single most important number to check before you commit to a product. For our bottles, duty is 0, but we are not out of the woods, because now comes VAT. UK import VAT is 20%, and it is calculated on everything: the product cost, plus the shipping, plus the insurance, plus any duty, all stacked together. So VAT on our shipment is 20% of the total CIF value, cost, insurance and freight combined. That comes to about £570, or 28 pence per unit. 28 pence per unit. That's the single biggest cost layer under the iceberg for a UK importer. It jumps our running total from 286 to 314. But here's the thing, and this is important. If your business is VAT registered, you can reclaim that import VAT on your next VAT return. Even better, the UK has something called postponed VAT accounting, which means you do not have to pay the VAT upfront at all. You account for it on your VAT return and it effectively cancels out. So for VAT registered businesses, that 28 pence comes back to you. For non-VAT registered businesses, it stays. Either way, you need to know it is there because it affects your cash flow even if you eventually reclaim it. We're also going to add our customs clearance agent here. Unless you're filing your own customs declarations, you're hiring someone to handle the paperwork. That runs about £75 to £150 per entry, call it 100. 5 pence per unit. So after customs, duty and agent fees, our running total is £319 per unit. £347 if you include VAT. You have not yet reclaimed. Your goods have cleared customs. You're almost there. But there are two more cost layers hiding between here and your warehouse, and one of them is completely invisible. Your goods have cleared customs. Now they need to get from the port to your warehouse. Last mile delivery from Felixstowe to a warehouse within, say, 100 miles runs about £150 to £250 for a pallet delivery. Call it 200, 10 pence per unit. And if you're using a third-party warehouse, they charge receiving fees, unloading, checking and shelving. If it is your own warehouse, it is your time. Either way, it's a cost. Now here is the layer most people completely miss: the invisible costs. The ones that do not show up on any invoice but eat your margin every single time. Currency conversion. And this one hits you twice. Your money is in pounds, your supplier quoted in US dollars, so the first conversion happens on your end, pounds to dollars. Your bank handles it and they take a cut. The typical markup is 2 to 3% above the real mid-market exchange rate. You will never see it as a line item, it just shows up as a slightly worse rate. But here is what most buyers do not think about. It hits the supplier too. They received your US dollars, but they pay their workers, their raw materials, their electricity bills all in Chinese yuan. So they convert your dollars into yuan. Their bank takes a cut on that side as well. Your supplier is not going to eat that cost. They have already priced it into your unit quote. When a supplier knows they're losing 1 to 2% on the dollar to yuan conversion, they build that margin into the price you see. You are paying for it, you just cannot see it. So the real currency cost on this deal is the pounds to dollar spread on your side, plus the dollar to yuan spread baked into the supplier's price. On a £5,000 order, that double conversion quietly costs you £150 to £250, 8 to 12 pence per unit. Invisible. This is actually one of the things we help with at World First. If you use a multi-currency account and pay your supplier directly in Chinese yuan, you skip the double conversion entirely. Your supplier gets the exact currency they need, so they do not need to pad the price. And you convert once at a rate you can actually see. Link in the description if you want to check it out. After last mile and invisible costs, our running total is $3.39 per unit excluding reclaimable VAT. Let's look at the whole picture. Your supplier quoted you £2.55. That was the tip of the iceberg. Here is what was underneath. China side logistics, 15 pence. Ocean freight and insurance, 7 pence. UK port handling, 9 pence. Customs clearance agent, 5 pence. Last mile delivery, 10 pence. Currency conversion, the double conversion you cannot see, 10 pence. Your £2.55 product costs £3.39 to land in your warehouse. That is a 33% increase from the factory price. On 2,000 units, that is an extra £1,680 you do not budget for. And remember, we got lucky on duty, our product was 0%. If you're importing textiles at 12% duty or footwear at 17%, that gap gets much wider. A 12% duty rate would add another 34 pence per unit and push the total increase to over 45%. The industry rule of thumb is that the factory price represents about 60 to 70% of your true landed cost for a first-time importer. We landed at 75%, and that is with zero duty. Most products will not be that generous. If you had priced your product based on the factory quote alone, your margins would have been wrong by 84 pence per unit. On 2,000 units, that is nearly £1,700 of profit that just vanished. Here is the formula. Save this. Screenshot it. Write it down. Product cost, plus freight, plus insurance, plus customs duty, plus VAT, plus clearance agent fees, plus last mile delivery, plus currency conversion costs, plus a 10% contingency buffer equals your real landed cost. That 10% buffer is not optional. It covers the customs inspection you might get, the port delay you did not expect, the exchange rate moving between when you quoted the job and when you actually paid the supplier. Every experienced importer builds this in, and this formula works for any product from any country. We use China as our example today, but the structure is identical whether you are sourcing from Vietnam, India, Turkey, or anywhere else. The duty rates change, the freight routes change, the formula stays the same. If you want to cut out that double conversion we talked about, check the link in the description for our multi-currency account. You can pay suppliers directly in their local currency and see the real exchange rate before you send the money. We've got a whole series on global sourcing, finding factories, negotiating with suppliers, understanding Incoterms. Playlist is right here. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you've got a landed cost horror story, drop it in the comments. I want to hear which cost surprised you the most. See you in the next one.